This Philips 165Hz gaming monitor comes in at 32 inches. Even though it's using a VA display, it's still a flat panel, which is fine. I don't have a preference for curved monitors, but I'm definitely no flat earther. And before we continue, for your chance to win an i7 Intel NUC 13 Pro mini PC from the good folks at Simply NUC, head on down to the link in the video description. This beastie mini PC could be yours, as long as you're in the US and 18 years and up. Good luck! The resolution for the Philips 5000 comes in at 1440p, which I think is the cutoff point and bare minimum for a 32-inch display. Look closely enough and you will see the pixels, but at a normal distance, I think it's fine. Whatever you do, don't buy a 1080p 32-inch display unless you want buyer's remorse. One benefit of not being 4K resolution is that it's easier to pump out frames when gaming, which is important if esports is your thing, or you just want to play those sweet AAA games at 165Hz. Less demand on your hardware means a better chance of getting those high frame rates if you don't have the highest end gaming rig on the round planet. Alright, so Philips sent me this monitor to check out called the Evnia or Momentum depending on the region. So let's start with what's inside the box. A DisplayPort cable, stand pieces, manuals, and power cord. What you get also depends on the region. Elsewhere, it might come with a HDMI and or a USB cable. Assembling it is pretty straightforward. Screw on the stand, plonk the arm into the monitor, and you're done. Well, there's also the headphone stand attachment if that's of interest. Okay, so first thing I've noticed is that the stand only supports tilting. There's no height adjustment or pivot. Bummer. At this price point, I'd like to have seen a fully ergonomic stand. Oh, I should also point out I don't like the shape of the base. Give me a round stand, damn it. But whatever, it's not important. This monitor does support 100 by 100mm VESA mounting if you want to mount it on an arm. And the build quality is really nice. It feels really solid and there aren't any blemishes that I can spot. With its solid feel and hefty weight, it sure does feel premium. And it doesn't creak or flex. This monitor is mostly made out of plastic and the stand is a mix of plastic and metal for reinforcement. For ports, you've got dual HDMI 2.0 and dual DisplayPort 1.4, which is pretty cool. You don't often get 4 inputs on these gaming monitors. There's also a USB 3 hub with 4 USB Type A ports. The 2 yellow ones support fast charging. Doesn't say in the specs, but probably around 1 ampere, which isn't the fastest fast charge if you get my drift. Apart from the IEC power input, there's also an audio out jack. No USB Type B cable for the hub in my package was included, and seems like an oversight. And unless it comes with one in your region, it's an additional cost if you don't have one. Oh, and trying to plug anything into these ports is not going to be a fun time since it's straight underneath and not visible unless you start contorting your neck into a new shape. Best to use the USB hub for USB devices you'll plug in once and forget. The Philips 5000 uses a joystick for navigating menus, which is great. For anyone that makes a lot of changes, this is the quickest and least frustrating way to navigate menus on a monitor, instead of horrible buttons. There's a low blue light mode and plenty of other settings as well. Twin 5-watt inbuilt speakers are included, but as always on these displays, they're not great. They sound tinny and don't have any bass definition.
Touchdown! Not even a scratch! The jungle awaits!
You'd only use them for unimportant stuff, but what is important is the image quality, and for the price point, the Philips does pretty darn well. Of course, the 165Hz refresh rate is nice, but the impressive part is the brightness, coming in at 550 nits, which makes this display HDR400 compatible. Like for real for once. Usually it's compatible and the brightness isn't up to scratch, so happy days. Oh, and both AMD's FreeSync and Nvidia's G-Sync are supported, which is great, and I'd assume Intel's Adaptive Sync would work fine too. Color gamut is almost 90% of Adobe RGB, which I think is plenty for gaming. The response time is rated at 4 milliseconds, and you can enable MPRT to lower the motion blur. Now, I like to game, and I'm sure you do as well if you're looking at this review, and I even play competitive titles for fun. and while playing, I didn't notice any serious ghosting issues. The Philips also felt responsive to me even when jumping between two gaming monitors as a comparison. Unless you're an esports pro, I think this will do the job nicely. You'll be able to compete. Oh, and I played without MPRT enabled, as for some people like me, it adds to eye fatigue and can lead to headaches. But if MPRT is all good for you, it does clean up the image even further. I also watched some movies and I think the skin tones looked accurate and black levels were really good. So overall, I'm impressed by the display you get for the dollars, and if this is your budget, I'd definitely consider this 32-inch gaming monitor from Philips. Here it comes in at under 600 Aussie dollars. So let's summarize with the pros and cons. 550 nits brightness gives you a great HDR 400 experience. Color accuracy is great. There's a joystick control for settings. A USB 3 hub is included. For inputs, you've got dual display ports and dual HDMI. However, the USB 3 hub is underneath the monitor, making it difficult to plug USB devices into it. Also, there was no USB Type-B cable included for my region. The stand isn't ergonomic, only providing tilt capabilities. So, a competitive product for the price, and that's all for this one. Cheers!